have the Ayatollah of fantasy rock and roller with us today, Adam Rank. How you doing, Rank?
They look great in person, and I just can't wait to next year where we can pack it full of 25,000.
Hey, Bob, how you doing?
Hey, I'm doing great. I didn't know it was Ball Guys Day. It was being ranked. I mean, how do you lose?
This is the Dynasty Vipers ViperCast.
That's right. This is the Dynasty Vipers ViperCast, episode 168, presented by the Fantasy Points Media Group. Head over to Fantasy Points today and get that subscription because there is no offseason when it comes to fantasy football, as we have seen here in the last few weeks, as we're going to talk about the coaching carousel. Round and round they go. Where they stop, we finally know. And we'll talk about that in a second. Joining me, as always, the man, the myth himself from the College of the Canyons, number 9 on the program, number 1 in our hearts, Major Caldwell. How you doing tonight?
I'm good, man. I always love the intro, man. How you doing today? How's it going?
I'm doing much better. I got my go-go juice here. The Dynasty Vipers ViperCast, presented by coffee, the one thing that makes me tick, even late at night.
Out of all people, you do not need coffee, dude.
You're probably correct on that. I am absolutely, without a doubt, the last person on this planet that needs coffee before bedtime. That being said, I am incredibly upset that I'm not going to be at the FSGA there in Las Vegas coming up. I'm seeing there's nothing worse than being on the Twitter sphere there and you're seeing I'm attending. You see all these great guests that they have going down to Vegas this upcoming weekend, and you're like, oh man, I want to be. First off, it's Vegas. Who doesn't want to be in Vegas?
Right.
Second, I got family down there, so I got a place I can squat whenever I'm down there. Plus, you know what? Fantasy football, Twitter. I mean, we all get along. I'm pretty sure I can couch surf or something down there anyway. That seems perfectly safe for a Canadian like myself. Get down to Vegas, jump on some friend's couch that I've never met before in person, and just sleep there for a couple days.
What's stopping you?
Well, the tickets and the family and the kids and the grandkids and
It's
work,
like
you know, all
everything.
everything else that goes on. Yeah,
real life.
Yeah, well, up here, man, we're finally hitting that for the kids. They're hitting their playoff hockey. Basketball season just ended for my one boy there, and now we're gearing up for the playoff run here for championships and whatnot. I mean, oh man, it's getting crazy up here. And it's not just the players. The parents are losing their minds right now. We got fights going on in the stands between parents and coaches going at. I mean, you name it, it's going down right now. That's when you know you're entering playoff season, especially here in Canada during the hockey season.
No idea what you just said, but it sounds fun.
Hey, when you come up here, I'll make sure to get you on the Zamboni. We'll go for a little spin around the rink on the Zamboni just so you can say you've been on that Zamboni.
Actually, I think I do want to do something like that, but it sounds sexual somehow. I don't know, but I don't know. But yeah, I'm with you.
It's only sexual if you call it the bony.
Yeah, see, there he is. There he is.
And it's, especially if you kind of drop it down to bony. Gotta get that nice deep. Come join me on the bony. I mean, we're not going to go there.
Creepy now. Yeah, we just took it somewhere else.
You know what? We're not afraid to take it to places no one else will take it. When it comes to the show, we talked about many topics there that we didn't really hear a whole lot of in the last couple of weeks. We brought that to fruition there last week, and now we're going to talk about this coaching carousel. And we finally know the destinations of several coaches. The Eagles, they've lost both their offensive and defensive coordinators there, as the Cardinals took the defensive coordinator, Jonathan Gannon, which are pretty confident. A lot of Eagles fans after that Super Bowl probably packed his bags and helped him get on the plane. They also lost their offensive coordinator, Shane Steichen, there to the Indianapolis Colts, which we kind of felt was going to happen ahead of the Super Bowl when the Colts started informing other candidates that they were no longer going in that direction. Now, we know the Broncos, they went with Sean Payton. We know the Panthers went with Frank Reich, originally the first quarterback, first player to throw a touchdown pass in Carolina Panthers history. And, of course, the Houston Texans, they went right back to the well there, as many coaches have done, our teams have done in the last few years, grabbed themselves that defensive coordinator for the San Francisco 49ers, as DeMeco Ryans is heading back to Houston to lead that Houston Texans team that has a pretty good draft pick coming up here. And it'll be interesting to see what they do with that pick. Or maybe hey, you know what? Maybe they trade back and add some more picks because they got holes all over that roster. If they don't feel that one of these young quarterbacks is their guy, and DeMeco Ryans, defensive guy, he could go edge, he could go defensive line, he could focus on that defense first and foremost. So we'll see what the Houston Texans do there. When you look at these coaching situations, do any of these stand out as a great move for you for these franchises? And is there one that you're like, why? Seriously, why'd you do that? Let's start off with the good moves.
Yeah, good. Anytime you grab Sean Payton, I think that's a fantastic move. He's one of the, greatest coaches in the game. I don't know. It's kind of hard for me to celebrate some of these guys when there's a offensive coordinator that's, two-time Super Bowl winner, just won a Super Bowl, one of the most prolific offenses. You you see all these names here. The losing team has two coaches gone, two coordinators gone, but then you have it's just weird, man. I don't get it. I mean, I get it. It's just so disappointing. It's especially when you're trying to love the game and you're trying to be part of this thing, and they just slap you in the face every single time. But I don't know. I don't really know too much about Shane. I don't know too much about Gannon either. Like they're coordinators. The Eagles did have a pretty good team on, they did a good job there, but to get a job over a guy who's been proven time and time again, I don't know. And then I think Frank had a shot. Didn't he have a shot before?
Yeah, he was actually the coach of the Colts there for a while. He was the offensive coordinator there with the Philadelphia Eagles. And then he got his opportunity there under Doug Peterson. And then he went off to Indianapolis where he was a coach there for a little while.
Yeah, and I don't think he was really successful in any of his stops, right? Or correct me if I'm wrong.
No, not so much. I mean, he had a good first year there at the Colts. I mean, they were a good team, and then it kind of dropped off, and he found himself unemployed pretty quickly. Now, if anyone can't figure out where Major's going, he's talking about Eric Bieniemy here.
I ain't want to.
You know me. I'll poke you all. You know I'm going to poke you when it comes to this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But with Eric Bieniemy, we've now seen this happen 3 years in a row where we would have thought he was a prime candidate for a coaching job. And you've got to start to wonder if Andy Reid's shadow may be casting too much on him, and maybe he needs to take that offensive coordinator job in Washington, as we've heard him being interviewed for.
No.
Because if he can make that offense click, I mean, that'll prove that he doesn't need Patrick Mahomes. That'll prove that he doesn't need Andy Reid, and maybe that is what he needs to prove to these other owners and stuff, though, when we're talking about potential jobs.
I don't know. In New England, I mean, they have the greatest coach of all time, but somehow those coaches always find a way as a head coach somewhere, even when they're not even that qualified, even when, they don't really work out at the end for the most part, they always find a way with the biggest shadow ever. So I don't know about that one. And for him to take a lateral move, actually a step back to try to, that's a lot, man. That is a lot to ask someone to do with that type of, with that type of resume, just to be, it's a lot, man. It's really hard for me to swallow that pill, because it's at this point it's kind of blatant. Like you said, it's been 3 seasons in a row, time and time again. We get all these coaching positions open up each year, and it's not even like his name is even in the contention for some of these jobs. It's, has he even been interviewed? I know it's hard to interview them because they interview him because they're always, I get that part.
That's a problem too, right?
Yeah, but these other 2 guys has got jobs and their team was in the Super Bowl as well. So it's like, I sometimes I try to play like the good versus evil, and it never balanced. I can always find you a comp for whatever we, have an issue with,
Well, hey, when I look at this, my favorite hire here, when I look at this, it's DeMeco Ryans. I mean, I've always been a guy that feeds off of energy. Sean Payton, great coach, whatever. He doesn't do nothing for me. I mean, he really doesn't. I need that guy who wants to go. No, he doesn't do nothing for me. I mean, Kevin James is a better coach than Sean Payton for me. I mean, when we talk about, I mean, I'd probably be more responsive to Kevin James talking than Sean Payton. But DeMeco Ryans, I only need to be in a room with him for about 5 minutes before I'm probably willing to run through a wall for him.
Right.
I mean, you see him, you see that energy that he brings when he's as a defensive coordinator. You see those players wanting to play for him. You can see that. You can see that pure joy right down to its core. And that's for me. I mean, with a young team like the Houston Texans, I mean, that is going to rub off very well, hopefully, and it's energizing. They're going to do it on the defensive side of the ball. I do believe that they're going to attack a guy early on in this draft, whether it's a Jalen Carter, who maybe the Bears let slide down. I don't. I think Jalen Carter is probably going to the Bears, but Will Anderson or an edge defender like that going to the Houston Texans. I can see them passing up on the quarterback position one more year if they don't believe in Bryce Young or CJ Stroud or one of these guys at the top of the board, or they drop back and maybe they look at a guy like Richardson here a little bit later. But I think they go defense first. I think they want to build within the trenches. I think DeMeco Ryans is that guy where he's going to go, let's get these trenches figured out first, and then we'll work our way back. I mean, we know you can't really get anywhere without a franchise quarterback, but let's be honest, the Houston Texans, even with DeMeco Ryans, even with one of these top defensive prospects, they're probably still not going anywhere next season. You could put in Young, you could put in Stroud, they're probably still not going to go anywhere next season. So they'll be right there in the top 5, more than likely picking next year at the quarterback class again. And we know there's a pretty couple good quarterbacks there, like Caleb Williams, that is going to be possibly the top draft pick overall next season, that maybe the Texans are more intrigued by than maybe one of these other quarterbacks. But that being said,
I don't say I kind of like what the 49ers are doing. They have like a formula to get these guys head coaching job. You know, you're on the defense, you get excited. Same thing happened with was it Saleh? I always mess his name.
Saleh,
yeah. And I think it's going to be the same type of blueprint. You see what he did with that defense in New York. I think there's going to be the same thing with the Texans. And most teams, when you win, you have a quarterback on a rookie contract and you have a good defense. Once you get those things worked out, like you said, I think that quarterback class may be just a little bit stronger, especially at the top, the next year. So I think they're hopefully he has like a 2-3 year contract to where they give him enough leeway to try to build this thing out, because another thing that we see with some of these 5, but they don't really mean too much, because sometimes they just let him go in year 2.
Oh, DeMeco Ryans made sure he got himself a 5-year contract. So if they do this thing where they let their coach go after 1 year, like they did to Romeo Cornell there, like they did to Coley, like they did to Lovie Smith.
Man, the track record is crazy.
Ryan's like, if I'm going to go here, your guys' track record of firing coaches within the first year isn't the greatest. I'm going to make sure I get myself a 5-year contract. So if you let me go, I'm getting paid for 4 more years.
Yeah, so, and one thing you see with a lot of the black coaches too, they get the sorrier teams, and once the team starts building up, some reason they get let go, and then we've seen it happen out in Miami and all that good stuff. So there's a track record of like funny stuff going on with the coaching in the NFL. So just keep an eye on it. Just remember Major said, point some of that stuff out. But it's a little weird. But shout out to DeMeco for getting that opportunity. I think he was taking the offensive he was taking someone from the 49ers on the offensive side of the ball. I think, was it the quarterback coach maybe?
It very well could be. I haven't dug too much into that right now, but
yeah, you got it.
He's going to pick up. He's going to surround himself with guys that he's familiar with a little bit, like most coaches do. Right. But the one thing that I've liked, what I've seen, is a coach going out there and getting himself an assistant coach that he has no clue who he is, which is another one. It's interesting. It's easier to work with someone that really good, right, but maybe they won't necessarily tell you what you need to hear. Right. Whereas someone that doesn't necessarily know you very well is going to be, I would think, pretty blunt about how they see the game as opposed to how you see the game. And having those differing views, it probably benefits your team more often than not. Now, one thing that I know that we have a very similar view on is the reinstatement application of Calvin Ridley and this Jaguars offense potentially in 2023. We're going to talk about these team previews here all throughout the offseason. It's draft season. Then we're going to get into these team previews, and then we're going to get into like the Behind the Grind is going to swing in here. Hey, we're got some great guests lined up on Behind the Grind.
As always.
You want college guys? Our man Thor is going to be involved. You want some of the smartest people in the business? How about Lisa Ann? She's going to be jumping on the show sometime during Behind the Grind. You name it, we've got them coming into season 3 of Behind the Grind. But first, are we going to be able to talk about Calvin Ridley being reinstated sooner rather than later, as his 1-year ban officially, unofficially ended, and he was able to apply for reinstatement today?
I like what the Jaguars are doing, man. Like, watch out for them next year, man. I think that's going to be one of those type of bumps that you see like the Bengals had when they went out and got the quarterback and the receiver and all that. They're going to have 3 really good receivers on that team with a quarterback who looks like he's actually can play. And the defense is pretty good. They can add a couple pieces here and there. They got to do some stuff on that offensive line, but I don't know. The Jags, to me, are, their stock is rising right now.
And for the love of all things that are holy, stop mock drafting a wide receiver to the Jaguars. It ain't happening, people.
Why would
Stop
they do
it.
that?
I mean, I have seen this in these mock drafts right now, that we're seeing wide receivers in the 1st, 2nd, 3rd round, somewhere in that ballpark, getting mocked to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Maybe they do draft a wide receiver, but it's not coming till a little bit later in the draft. You got Zay Jones there, which we've seen what he's capable of doing. You've got Calvin Ridley possibly getting reinstated here, and Christian Kirk, he had a pretty good season himself. So wide receivers are not the problem. Get Evan Ingram signed back there. Give Trevor Lawrence his whole arsenal of weapons together. Build around that. Get that defense going to where it needs to go. I mean, this Jaguars team, it's for real in 2023. And I don't want to say the word dynasty potential, but they are going to be one of those teams that's going to be able to flirt with the playoffs for a very long period of time moving forward.
They're all
they
young.
Did give the Chiefs all that they could handle in the playoffs. Let's not forget about that. They were pretty close to knocking off the Chiefs. So let's give the Jaguars their due. And we can't wait for Calvin Ridley to get reinstated. Now it is Roger Goodell, so all bets are off whether or not he gets reinstated. But we can hope. Womp, womp, womp.
No, I'll give you one of those. I kind of like that one.
Super low key, under the radar. Speaking of not being under the radar, have you ever had a crazy ex-lover come into your life? I'm sure you have. But the Raiders and Derek Carr have officially broken up. On of all days, it's officially over on so Valentine's.
That is funny.
Boy, the irony behind all that.
Yeah.
Like, I can just imagine the Valentine's Day cards where you've got like that Derek Carr stare. We've all seen the meme where Derek Carr looks like he's wearing a little extra mascara. He's kind of looking through the brow of his forehead there a little bit, where it looks like he's going to go all evil. And yet, here we are. And I love the pettiness on both sides. I absolutely love the pettiness. Derek Carr is like, I'll go for a visit to New Orleans. You guys can talk about trade compensation. But you know what? I'm not going to waive my no trade clause, but I'll take a free trip out to New Orleans. That's called living your best life right there. Taking the kids down to New Orleans, getting a nice little visit, hang out, all accommodations. I'm sure we're covered. I'm pretty confident his flight was covered. His hotel was covered. Everything was covered. It's a free vacation. We are doing something wrong here, Major. Mostly being not athletic enough to play pro football, but right. I'm sure that has a small part in everything. But you got basically wined and dined with no desire to get traded there at all. So Derek Carr is now living his best life right now. And we talked about this last week. If Al Davis was still alive,
right,
this would be a very different situation because two things. One, I don't think it would have gotten this far. Two, Al Davis would have hung on to Derek Carr just out of spite, just to make his life miserable. You know what? Take your $40 million on the bench. I don't care. Or he would have found a way, especially in Vegas, to make Carr probably disappear on the side of the highway or something. I mean, it was Al Davis. I mean, Al Davis had like connections to the mob one way or the other. He just had it. He just looked like one of those guys that had those connections.
For sure. But you can, I don't know, for Derek Carr, it feels good to be wanted. It feels good to be courted. He's going out, having a good time. He's out here dating right now. It's like your analogy with the Valentine's Day, he had a really bad breakup. He's out here. You said the best way to get over someone is to get under someone. I think that's kind of like what he's doing. But hopefully he'll find a good home. There's some good teams that need quarterbacks. I think it's a lot of teams that's like a quarterback away. So we'll see what happens. But I'm kind of happy for him. I want something good for him to happen. Like I don't want him to end up like at another build up situation, or I want him to get to a situation where he can actually perform. We can see what he can do. I mean, we've seen what he can do. Like he's no slouch when it comes to playing quarterback. I think he's really underrated, but get him in a situation where he can like show what he can do and have opportunity to make the playoffs and all that good stuff. I want that for him, man. Veteran quarterbacks kind of need that.
It's too bad because I could see him being one of those guys that would somehow sign within the division. If the Broncos didn't have like Russell Wilson, I could see him going to Denver Broncos.
Oh, for sure.
It seems like one of those type of breakups where he's like, okay, who do the Raiders play this year? I'm going to sign on one of those teams that needs a quarterback.
Right.
Just to play the Raiders. With that being said, so we know what's going on there. But now let's move back into this. Let's kind of review what was just a week ago. Let's go into our Super Bowl roundup, so to speak. Did this game live up to the expectations that you placed upon it? Not everyone else's expectations. I don't care about everybody else. I want to know what were Major's expectations. What are the major expectations for the Super Bowl?
Nice. It was a good Super Bowl. I really enjoyed the game. When it started, I thought it was going to be a blowout for the Eagles, but Mahomes did what all great quarterbacks do, hung around and took it over late. So the referee, people saying the referees threw that it was a hold. It was a hold. People, it happens all the time though, and playing the game too. I mean, I know you played. We know 2 minutes the whistle is hot. Like you can't do anything in the last 2 minutes of a game. The whistle is hot. So he held, and that's what happened. But I seen a meme where we're going around where all the Eagles players and coaches were talking about how it's not just one play and all that good stuff. And I believe that there's so many different things that happen throughout the game that can like change the course of that game. But the people slipping with the pain and all, it was a lot of excuses going on out there. Both teams had to play on the field. It is what it is, man. Like, the halftime show was okay. The choreography was dope. The dancers was dope. The floating stage was dope. Rihanna showing her pregnancy and all that stuff. I guess that's cool. That's what you're into. Not a big Rihanna fan. I did recognize some of the songs as they were playing. So it wasn't as bad, but it wasn't one of my favorite halftime shows. But you gotta give the people what they want. Oh, the national anthem. Did we win that bet? We should go over. Did we win any of our bets? Because I think I remember watching the game. It was like, oh, I won the toss one. I think I called tails. I remember that, but I don't. The rest of it was kind of like, I don't know if we did too well. I don't know if we did too well with that. I
don't know. Let's talk about the national anthem. That was a really good rendition of the national anthem. I really liked how Chris Stapleton did that. I think that was probably. I'm going to take a lot of heat for this. That was probably the best musical performance of the night.
I'll say
it.
Of the night. I'm not mad at you of the night. I thought you was about to go. I thought you was about to say something crazy.
Well, I mean, according to Twitter and everything else there and whatnot, Rihanna had the best Super Bowl halftime show of all time.
That's ridiculous.
First off, stop this nonsense. Go brush up on MJ. Michael Jackson, first off, put him up there. Michael Jackson's performance to me was the second best all time.
Well, what's your number one?
The best all time. Indianapolis Colts, Chicago Bears, In the Rain, Prince, Purple Rain. You cannot plan a rain shower while Prince is playing Purple Rain.
Only Prince can plan that. Only Prince can. Prince planned that with the universe. I'm with you on that.
I'm getting chills right now. Chills.
Just thinking about me too. That's weird.
So for those who are not old enough, I guess, to remember that game. Right after that, fantastic. Prince, Super Bowl, check it out. It's on YouTube. Everything's on YouTube nowadays. Nothing compares. By far, my favorite halftime performance of all time was Prince. Now, I'll say so did the game live up to my expectations?
Yeah.
I think it did until it didn't. I guess is the best way to put it. And kudos to the Eagles. Kudos to James Bradbury for taking accountability and saying what it was. Now,
Right.
Major, you said that we know, as I'm a defensive player,
Right.
you know the whistle's hot the last 2 minutes of the game. However, you know as well as I do, players play with how the game is officiated. You cannot change the way a game is officiated, especially in the last 2 minutes of the ball game. James Bradbury literally got away with a more blatant hold earlier on in that game. If you're going to let that slide, what he did there, whether it's a hold or not, you have to let that slide as well. You cannot change the rules. The rules are the rules. I get it. It was a hold by the definition. But if you're not going to call it by the definition throughout the game, you can't call it there. It has to be consistent all the way through. You can't change it on how a player is playing defensively. You can't. Those are how the rules are rules. I get it. But you change the rules throughout a game based on how it's officiated. And that is what I think happened there. Bradbury goes, hey, you know what? I got away with one earlier. They're letting this game go a little bit more physical, a little bit more hand fighting. I'm probably going to be able to get away with it here. Apparently not. And you can't tell me.
I'm trying to get with you. But
you don't find it funny that last year.
Oh, no, my bad.
Go ahead. Ironic that last year, 154 left in the ball game, the first defensive holding call was made in last year's Super Bowl that led to the Rams winning. This year, 1:37, the first defensive holding call called. I'll tell you what, as a DB, those were not the only two holds in the last two Super Bowls. They weren't. I guarantee that.
I'm with you with the conspiracy. I see the conspiracy build. I think you got to have 3 to make it an official conspiracy theory, but you kind of open my eyes a little bit. But we all know holding happens every play. If it's not the linemen, if it's not the DBs, linebackers grabbing running backs, run out of someone's getting held on every play. They can call it whenever they want to. The game will be it will be the worst game ever because you will get stoppage like every second. But again, the whistle is always hot the last 2 minutes of the game, especially like the last minute of the game. You have to play damn near pitch perfect football as a defensive player. Because the offense always gonna, they're gonna always lean towards offense because that's how they make money. But I don't know. You kind of opened my eyes a little bit. I didn't really realize that the last 2 Super Bowls had like the kind of same penalty happening at around the same time. That's a lot to swallow right there.
Just throwing it out there. And like you said, you can call something on every single play, even on the Jalen Hurts fumble that Nick Bolton took to the end zone. You could go back on the video. You can take a quick shot of that there. That Hurts had someone's hand in his face mask.
Right.
So why is that touchdown allowed to stand? I mean, it is what it is. The game has changed where we've got eyes everywhere now. Eyes are everywhere. And it kind of ruins it a little bit because we always knew that there was a lot of room for error and a lot of things were getting missed. But now we're seeing everything. And I think as consumers of a product, we're seeing all these things. And hey, if people are going to start throwing scripts at us and conspiracy theories, you know how we are nowadays. I mean, we just jump. We're literally shooting down. We're literally shooting down UFOs right now, all across the world. All across the world, there's UFOs getting shot down. People, this is Independence Day. This is our last stand.
Shout out for Canada for standing up and rocking with the U.S., shooting down everything in the sky. Shout out to you guys, man. You guys usually play more neutral, but you guys out there shooting shit down too. Appreciate it.
Yeah, going to fly over our polar ice caps and with an unidentified flying object that's probably just someone's kite. Let's be honest.
Right. But someone lost a drone and they're shooting everything down now. It's funny.
But let's give the devil the here. The Chiefs, they played a good game. They really did. I had the Eagles winning. I had the Eagles covering. I thought it was going to be a close game. I thought it was going to be a 27-23 type game.
Yep.
Anyone who took the under, we look like idiots.
Right.
Anyone who took the under. And I heard a lot of people take the under, so let's not feel bad about that. This game turned into a shootout, and the best part about it, I don't even think, and I'll say it right now because I took a lot of heat for this too on Twitter already. Patrick Mahomes was not the best quarterback on the field. I believe Jalen Hurts was the best player, quarterback or not, on that field that day.
Yes, well, you're saying before the game, or are you saying like after the game? Like,
I said after the game, Jalen Hurts was the best one.
Okay.
I mean, I get it. Patrick Mahomes did what he did. He didn't have to win. He kept his team in it. He battled through some adversity. He did not make any mistakes. Jalen Hurts made the big mistake, I guess the best way to put it. 3 rushing touchdowns. The only other player to do that was Super Bowl MVP Terrell Davis, right? Only other player to rush for 3 touchdowns. He threw for 300 plus yards. He threw for a touchdown. And I mean, anything that he put up an octopus on that drive. The dude literally ran the ball in himself, put his team on his back. He had the MVP defining drive.
Yep.
Where he got in and then he punched in the 2-point conversion. The dude's squatting 600 pounds. He literally even threw Chris Jones on his shoulders and ran with him for 2-3 yards. That's a big man and a lot of dead weight to carry with you. So for me, Jalen Hurts was the best player on Sunday, bar none. I'm not even going to debate that with people, but I get it. Not all stats matter when you look at the MVP. Well, if that's the case, how about we give the MVP award to the Kansas City Chiefs offensive line? That's the story of this contest.
What?
0 sacks.
Okay.
They played a team that had an 11.9 sack rate percentage. A team that led the league by a wide margin in sacks. 0 sacks. Complain all you want about the field, and I seen Hassan Reddick slip. I seen Josh Sweet slip a couple times. I get it. This line, it did its job. It kept Patrick Mahomes clean. And if you're going to allow Patrick Mahomes to stay clean, he's going to find someone open. It's going to happen. That was the biggest difference for me between these two teams is Patrick Mahomes had time because his offensive line did something to this Eagles defensive front that no other team had been able to do all season.
That's
and
true.
That was completely neutralize it.
Yeah, but that's
if you
crazy.
Look at my video there on fantasy points, I said that was going to be one of the major keys to this game. I didn't think the Chiefs' offensive line, like many others, was going to be able to neutralize this pass rush, this vaunted pass rush of the Eagles, and it made it non-existent. It really, I don't even know if Patrick Mahomes got even hit. I mean, he did, but it was usually on a scramble, picking up extra yardage, not during the sack. It was, I think maybe he got hit twice in the backfield after he already released the ball.
They had to protect that ankle, man. I think that was like the warrior cry all week from the coaches, like, hey, we have to protect the quarterback. We cannot let people fall around this guy's ankle. And they stood up and did a great job of that.
So I got a question here about that ankle. Let's go back to that ankle here for a second here, because PEDs are bad, right? We've decided this. Performance enhancing drugs. Drugs are bad, okay? Drugs are bad. We've talked about this. It's out there. If you do drugs, you can't play football. You can't even smoke weed. If you smoke weed, you can't play football. You know damn well he had something stuck into that ankle.
Let's go. Hey, Matt, you
cannot tell me right now that Patrick Mahomes didn't have something shoved up his ankle at halftime.
No, before the game,
before the game and halftime.
Before the game and halftime, for sure.
So, in my opinion, watching him die and crying on the shoulder of his offensive coordinator, his quarterback coach there, and then coming out the way he did in the second half, you cannot tell me that his performance was not enhanced by a drug.
No, I was telling people, I was like watching the game I'm just like, hey, before the game, you're going to get shot up. It wears off around like right before halftime. Yeah, second quarter sometime. And that's when you seen him like really in pain, leaning, and then went to the locker room. And plus the Super Bowl, you get an extra like 30 minutes in the locker room or something like that. So they did stuff. They did the Mr. Miyagi. They put their hands together. They did a little bit of that, and then gave him like a jab, and then got him back out there to win the game, man. So, but that's a absolutely. I was laughing because Matt, you got the conspiracy theory brain as well. because like you can't smoke marijuana, you can't do drugs, all this other stuff, but you could do the drug that can help you win the game, the performance enhancing. To me, that's considered performance enhancing because you enhance his performance. Isn't that how it
He
works?
literally could not have played in the second half.
He was limping so hard.
But I digress. Drugs are bad. Okay?
Drugs are bad.
So I'm going to put an asterisk on the Super Bowl championship because he should have been piss tested in the third quarter. Then we would have had all kinds of fun.
Hey, where's Tara? Where's Tara? We need Tara to get us back on.
No PPR points here for that one. By the way, there's starting to be a push now from the fantasy community to get rid of PPR. Have you heard this?
I have not. No, I think you may have started that.
We've literally seen, I'm going off topic here, but hey, we're fine with that. We've literally seen where now running backs have been devalued so much that wide receivers are now taking over, especially in PPR, that people are like, well, PPR bad, okay? And they're starting to go with maybe the half PPR, like I've been saying for years. This is fantastic. This could be my redemption story. This could be my shot in the ankle here, coming here right now in 2023.
I wish save this conversation for when Tara comes back, because she's gonna have the clip loaded for you. But go ahead.
Oh, absolutely, sure. It's gonna be fantastic. I look forward to it. Now, sticking with the Super Bowl, stick with Patrick Mahomes and his bloody sock. I mean, his shot up ankle. Is Patrick Mahomes a Hall of Famer right now?
I gotta say, yeah, man. You got 2 championships. You've been an MVP multiple times. You've been the face of the league. Why not? Like, I don't think he's that far from being a GOAT. I mean, I think you do have to match the rings of Brady, but that's gonna be a tall feat. But he's doing a pretty good job so far in his career, and he's still pretty young. So, but I do think if it ended today, I'll put him in over. Oh my God, I just lost his name right now.
Put him in over Joe Montana?
No, I'll put him in over. Not Peyton Manning, but the Eli Manning. He's in over Eli. He's in over the Chargers quarterback, the old quarterback. I'm losing all the names. Rivers. He's in over. Is he right there with Breeze? I think he's that tier right now in his career.
Well, listen, 5 years as a starter, 5 straight AFC Championship games,
right?
5 straight 12-win seasons.
Right.
5 straight Pro Bowls, 2 Super Bowl wins, 2 Super Bowl MVPs, 2-time NFL MVP. Not even Tom Brady himself accomplished this within his first 5 years of his career.
So to you, is he Hall of Famer?
He's a Hall of Famer right now. He can retire right now, and Patrick Mahomes is a first ballot Hall of Famer. I hate Patrick Mahomes too, by the way. As a Raiders fan, this feels dirty. Like I'm gonna go scrub my tongue with bleach or something just for saying that. But you know what? Here's the thing. I have to secretly, I gotta throw this out there. I'm actually starting to kind of like the guy.
Oh man.
No, listen. I kind of put on Twitter. Well, I kind of said it's not because of what he's doing on the field. It's how he conducts himself off the field that has my attention. I love the way that he's talking about everything else that's going on, not just about him, right? So he was going through after the Super Bowl, before he even sat down after the game, he went around locker to locker shaking everyone's hand.
Okay.
Everyone on that team's hand, special teams guys, whoever, before he even sat down. I'm like, okay, you know what? That's got my attention. Then the post-game, he goes, if there were any doubters left, there shouldn't be now, in reference to Jalen Hurts and his ability. So he's saying, hey, Jalen Hurts, I'm not going to say that he was a better quarterback than me today, but he was a damn good quarterback, and he did what he had to do with this team. And what he was able to do that last minute of the game to bring the Eagles back in to tie it when they were down by 8, that was fantastic. And so I'm like, okay, Patrick, I got you now. Plus, he was able to keep Jackson Mahomes quiet in the entire season. That's where the real MVP award comes from.
Seriously.
Keeping Jackson Mahomes quiet, getting him off TikTok. Juju Smith-Schuster kept him quiet for most of the season until he started sending out Valentines to James Bradbury here.
Shout out to Juju, man. He had a good Super Bowl.
Yeah, he still fell short of 1,000 yards, so he still sucked. Okay, Juju still is
such a hater. You a hater, man. Shout out to Juju, man. USC alum, baby. Let's go.
Yeah, well, I'm still not impressed. That don't impress me much. Now,
is Mahomes? What about the GOAT talk for you? Like, where is he at in the GOAT conversation?
I mean, I think he's knocking on that door. I really do. He's not there yet. I mean, I've still got Brady up ahead of him.
Does he have to match the rings, or can he? Is there something to counter that or balance that out?
No, he doesn't have to match the rings. I don't think so. I mean, you look at those Super Bowls that Tom Brady won. It wasn't Tom Brady winning those Super Bowls.
Whoa, say it again.
No,
a lot of people say that, and it's a fight.
I know it's a fight, but you look at how some of those Super Bowls came down. Vinatieri with the big kicks.
Yep.
I mean, you had the pick there at the end of the game against the Seahawks as well. Butler with the big pick. He didn't the first Super Bowl there against the Rams. He didn't necessarily win it. It was that defense that won it. So Brady, as good as Brady,
there's a lot of stuff going on. The deflate gate. There's a lot of stuff going on there.
Absolutely. And I'm not taking anything. This is not meant to take anything away from Brady's legacy. But one man a team does not make. We know this as former players, that one player does not set you above and beyond everything else. Patrick Mahomes, we're seeing him have that Brady effect. He doesn't have the McCole Hardman, Juju Smith-Schuster, Marquez Valdes-Scantling, Sky Moore. These aren't top-notch wide receivers. Deion Branch, Wes Welker, Julian Edelman, as good as they were, those were not top-notch wide receivers. They had some good seasons. Don't get me wrong. Gronk, Kelsey, very comparable there. I mean, what Kelsey and Mahomes are doing in the playoffs, that rivals Rice and Montana, and it's going to pass them as the best playoff pass-catching duo of all time. It's going to happen. Next season, probably. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
So I don't think Patrick Mahomes necessarily even has to win another Super Bowl to outdo what we've seen with Tom Brady, right? I mean, people are putting LeBron James as the GOAT. He's still 2 NBA championships shy of Michael Jordan. Even though he's got the most passing yards or he's got the most points in NBA history, well, guess what? Michael's still got the best points per game average. So you can get both arguments going both sides. I think you can have that with Mahomes, but he's definitely going to insert himself in that conversation with the Joe Montanas, with the Tom Bradys, with the Peyton Mannings. Now, let's not forget about him. And let's not forget about Dan Marino, who still gets some nods there as the greatest quarterback of all time. He still gets that conversation.
Elway is one of those guys.
Well, Marino's got 0 rings to his credit.
Right.
And yet we're still talking about him as one of the best quarterbacks to ever play this game. So do I think he needs to win another ring to be considered the GOAT? No, but I think he's got to put another 5 years of good numbers ahead of him to get that into that consideration. The game is different. Could you imagine Dan Marino slinging the ball in today's game?
Wow. Right.
He was throwing for like 5,000 yards back in the 80s.
Him and Warren Moon, to me, those two guys in this league would be crazy.
So I think it's important when we talk about the greatest of all time, whether it's basketball, whether it's the NFL, you really have to take into consideration the eras. They're different, completely different. The rules are changed. The talent levels changed. Do I think I think Michael Jordan's the greatest of all time when it comes to basketball. I think he's always going to be there for me because that's who I have. That's the guy I kind of looked up to. No matter what LeBron James does, he can win 5 more championships, and he still wouldn't meet Michael Jordan. And that, in my opinion, for me personally,
you still got to give him a little love to be the all-time leading scorer and to be in the top 5 in the assists too. That's a huge feat for anyone.
There's no denying. Do I think he's the best, most talented basketball player of all time? Yes. I don't think we've seen someone that has what LeBron has.
Right.
But you know damn well, one-on-one, Michael Jordan's going to find a way.
Yeah. Because I'll even put Kobe up there too. That's
Kobe, and that's the guy. Yeah. I know we're a football show. Kobe does not get enough respect to being the greatest of all time when it comes to basketball. He does not get that same respect. Why are we not mentioning him? I mean, he basically became Michael Jordan after Michael Jordan left. Same, the Mamba mentality. You talk about it all the time. That's what Jordan had. That was the difference, in my opinion, between Kobe, Michael, and LeBron, is that mentality. What it's like, yeah.
Yep,
but we're not going to go there. But yeah, I do believe that Mahomes can be the greatest of all time. And he doesn't necessarily have to win another championship to do it. So can the Chiefs repeat next season?
I think they can. I mean, they did it with a team that we thought was kind of depleted when they lost, their best receiver and one of the best receivers in the league. We're all kind of like, oh, it's going to be a rebuilding year. They got a lot of young guys, but they proved to they have that almost the same thing what Brady had. Like, they always find a way to kind of stick around during the season, and then in the playoffs they start to heat up a little bit, and then all of a sudden in a championship game and they're losing, and all of a sudden they find a way to win. That seems like the formula to win a championship. Is not like the undefeated season and all that good stuff. It's just staying around. They have a good pace. They know how to. They're not overdoing it in the regular season, so everyone's tired for the playoffs. So I think they have a really good formula there with the coaching staff and everything. They worked out that equation. And I don't really think they're losing too much, are they? Let me see real quick. I had it up earlier.
No, they're in pretty good shape there as far as
yeah,
that. I mean, they're good cap.
A couple receivers like Miko. I'm pretty sure they probably let him go. They might bring Juju back depending on what they pick up in the offseason.
But are they really losing either one of those guys? Let's be honest. When we look at their
yeah, and I think they should re-sign Jared McKinnon. I really like what he does in that offense. But they have a lot of running backs there. They have to kind of figure that part out.
Let's not forget about two-time Super Bowl champion Ronald Jones now.
Hey, shout out to Ronald, another SC guy. But Ronald Jones is I don't know, man. He doesn't fit that offense as well as I would want him to. But
hey, we can make fun of Isaiah Pacheco and his running style all we want. I think the Chiefs got their guy in the backfield.
Hey, that first run of the game that he had, he almost won me over, and then he started doing his old thing. But he actually made a good cut to the outside, made some moves, and got it going instead of just running straight into people. So shout out to him for evolving a little bit. And if he can add a little wiggle to his game, that he's gonna be dangerous, because that dude runs extremely hard, and maybe they can give him the ball a couple times through the air. Because that's what they're missing. Like that, man. I wish what's his name, Hunt, was still there, because he would be one of the best running backs in the game right now, just catching the ball at the backfield, running all that good stuff. But we'll see what happens. He'll be a free agent this year. Maybe they'll reunite. Probably not. But yeah, I think the Chiefs can do it, because they did it with less, and I think they can only get better from here, really.
Well, the Chiefs and Mahomes became the first Super Bowl team with a $40 million+ quarterback. Which, by the way, Mahomes' deal is starting to look like a pretty good bargain now when we look at some of these other deals that are going to come. But when they let Tyreek Hill go, they took all that money and they reinvested it into their offensive line, and that is why they're going to be able to be in the conversation to repeat next season. I don't know if they repeat. I mean, Buffalo's going to do some stuff to tinker with that lineup. The Bengals are going to be there. The Chargers, good Lord, hopefully they don't charger again like they did against the Jaguars. The Jaguars are going to be in the conversation there as well. We know they got a good young nucleus, but I think they have a good chance as anybody to repeat. Can the Eagles, though? Can the Eagles, no offensive coordinator, he gone. Defensive coordinator, he gone. Can this Eagles team, can they get back? Because, hey, Jalen Hurts, he's looking to get paid.
That's what I was going to say. It's like the total opposite. They're going to have to pay Mahomes. They have some defensive players that they need to re-sign. They got CJ, Bradbury, even I think Fletcher Cox is still out there, and he's he's not like a over the top dude, but I think there's a lot of leadership there in the locker room. I think he may be one of the leaders of that defense. I'm not sure. It just seems like he has a good handle on that. But yeah, paying Jalen Hurts is going to lose a lot of guys, and you lose two coordinators. It's always hard to recover from. And we all know, let me see, I had a little stat here for this. So since the Super Bowl in 1967, there have been 27 losing teams. only 9 have gone on to return to the Super Bowl and win it. So it's going to be a tall task for them to do it. So it's like 18 teams never made it back. So that's a hard stat, and a lot of these Super Bowl teams,
A lot of
when
the
people
Super
make
Bowl
it to the
losers don't
Super
even
Bowl
make it to play.
yeah, when a lot of people make it to the Super Bowl, they start picking your talent. They start pulling your talent from you. Like I said, it starts with the coaches, and you start seeing some of those coaches take some of those players with him or with them to those new teams. It messes up that dynamic you have, because I think that Eagles locker room is a real good locker room. But Jalen Hurts, I really was not that big of a fan of Jalen Hurts. He really won me over this season from like game 1 to now. Like, he's just a stand-up dude. Like, his press conferences,
Oh
hats
man,
off to him, dude. It was like the best answer you can have as an athlete without being like cliche. So no, I think they have a good thing there with him, but that paying him is probably gonna hurt those chances unless they get lucky with a couple receivers here and there, because they got 2 big receivers they have to start thinking about paying soon. That defensive line, a lot of talent on the defensive line. You're gonna have to pay those guys, and people are gonna pull that talent as well. So it's going to be interesting to see how that front office handles. You really see if that front office is like the real deal, how they handle this offseason, and I guess probably the next 2 seasons.
well, the one thing that's really good about this Eagles team here moving into 2023 is the fact that they're sitting pretty good when it comes to the NFL draft this season, right? I mean, we could all argue, hey, when you look at the draft board and the guide and how it's all going to shake out, I mean, this Eagles team, not only do they have pick 31, they still have the number 10 pick when it comes to this year's draft via trade that they already got. So they're sitting with a top 10 pick and the 31st overall pick, or 30th overall pick, because Miami lost their draft pick. Sorry. So they've got the 30th pick and the 10th pick. So 2 first rounders. So anything that they're kind of feeling that maybe isn't quite there, James Bradbury, he's looking to get paid. He came in on a 1-year deal coming over from the New York Giants. Maybe they use that number pick on one of these good young corners that are coming out here. Maybe they address one of these edge positions. We know Brandon Graham's getting a little long in the tooth. He could be gone. Ndamukong Suh, Linval Joseph, they basically signed these guys off the couch anyway. But Fletcher Cox, he's getting a little bit older there. The Achilles heel for this team was that linebacking core, because you're white. TJ Edwards was a tackling machine during the regular season. Not all tackles are created equal. We've seen what Nick Bolton was able to do. Nick Bolton had like 180 tackles this season, but he was all over the field. TJ Edwards, great for fantasy. I don't think he's that guy for a defense in the middle. Now, how they attack this, I mean, I can't wait to draft season. We're going to talk about the draft season. We're going to do some mock drafts here on the show live. So expect that to come at you throughout the offseason. We're going to be making sure we got some drafts talk going on here. We're going to have some draft experts come on here on the show and talk through their process and how they think things are going. Like I said, we're going to talk about previews, reviews. We're going to get into 2023. But right now, if you want to take a review of all the 2022 teams, head over to fantasypoints.com today and check out what Tom Broly's been saying about these teams, as he has a review for every team, every conference already out there for you there on fantasypoints.com. Part of the NFL series there. I mean, great Tom, fantastic mind when it comes to fantasy football. You can go over there and just break it down. He's got it for the NFC South, the North, the AFC South, the North, broken down that way. So for me, I don't like to read a whole lot in a long period of time, but if you give me 4 little paragraphs to read, I'm down. So, I'm definitely down with Tom Broly in these articles here. Fantastic day. We'll kind of touch on these here throughout the offseason. That being said, what is the script, Major? What is the script? Have you got the 2023 script? What does it say right now? What do you got?
I haven't got it. We're like doing some workshop right now. We're workshopping the storylines for next season. I think the main one right now is going to be the repeat of the Chiefs. We're looking at a new dynasty. We like, NFL love dynasties, from the Niners to the Steelers to the Cowboys to the Patriots. We love a good franchise, and I think the Chiefs are going to be that franchise. So that's, I know we made a mistake and we betted against them that's probably not going to happen anymore for me. So I think that might be the number one overarching story. You're going to have some undertone stories, but the overarching story is going to be the Chiefs dynasty.
So Mahomes minions will become this generation's Brady's bunch, right? Is that what we're thinking here?
There you
it
go.
Doesn't matter the cast of characters that we're going to go there. But the one thing I always want to talk about, and we're putting our crystal ball, we're going to make some off-season predictions here a little bit later on in the season. But when you look at the NFL standings, one thing that always happens every single year, like without fail, is there is a team that basically goes from worst to first. I mean, look at Jacksonville this year. They basically accomplished that feat. So when we look at these divisions right now, AFC East, Bills, Dolphins, Patriots, Jets. Can the Jets go worst to first in that division?
Honestly, I think they can because that defense is good, man. They grab someone like Carr, and they have some good young receivers there. They have a stud at running back. If he can come back from that injury like 100%, I don't see why not, man. I really like what's going on down there.
Well, let's not forget that the Jets were 7-4 before dropping 6 straight contests. So they were right in the thick of things there. Right. AFC West. It wasn't the Raiders that finished last. It was the Chiefs, Chargers, Raiders, and then the Broncos at 5-12. Sean Payton coming there. Can he get Russell Wilson cooking again? Can this Broncos team surpass the Chiefs?
Again, I don't think anyone's going to surpass the Chiefs. Maybe regular season wise, like I said, the Chiefs are kind of like doing that lingering thing, and then they get to they just want to make it to the playoffs. They don't care how many wins they have. But again, having a Hall of Fame type of coach who is a quarterback guru or whisperer or whatever you want to call him, I think if anyone can do it, he can get Wilson back on track. What do you think?
I think he wears a visor, and that's not going to happen.
AFC North.
AFC North, we had the Bengals, the Ravens, the Steelers at 9-8, and the Browns at 7-10. Deshaun Watson entire offseason. Amari Cooper, maybe they had a weapon here for him on the other side. Can the Browns go from worst to first?
That's another team with a really good defense. I think that quarterbacks, because the team was actually playing well when they had like a stable quarterback, but they decided to go with Watson. I mean, which is probably the best decision. You paid them all that money. But having that year under, I don't see why not. Maybe I guess they could. Actually, I kind of like that Brown team. You start thinking about their squad, you're like, wait a minute, they got a lot of talent out there.
Good running back, great offensive line, solid defense. Can the quarterback get this team where it needs to be? So keep an eye on the Browns this season.
Yeah, that's a good call.
AFC South, the Jacksonville Jaguars, 9-8, Tennessee Titans 7-10, Indianapolis Colts 4-12, Houston Texans 3-13. Let's forget about the Texans because we don't think they're going to go there. Then again, we thought the same thing probably about the Jaguars last season. Can the Colts go from 4-12-1 and return to winning this division?
They have to get that quarterback together. Again, another good team with a solid defense, good young receivers, great young running back. All you need is a Carr type of player. I think that, to me, I think that's where I want to see Carr go. But, yeah, man, well, what do you think about that one? That's a hard one for me.
I think the Indianapolis Colts better just stay away from used cars. It hasn't worked out for him very well. Carson Wentz, Matt Ryan. This recycling the quarterback thing hasn't really worked out for Indianapolis last few
Carr
seasons.
He has more left in the tank than those other guys did, right?
I would believe so. I think he's got a chip on his shoulder too that the other ones didn't necessarily have.
Exactly.
Now, looking at the NFC East, Eagles, great team, going to return a good portion. Going to be difficult for any team to pass them this season. But we also know that whoever wins the NFC East, it's usually someone else the next season. I mean, that's typically what's been happening over their last few seasons. So you got the Eagles at 14-3, the Dallas Cowboys at 12-5, the New York Giants 9-7-1, and the Washington Commanders at 8-8-1. Can the Commanders or even the Giants, can one of these two teams win this division?
Oh man, I don't like the Giants for some reason. I just don't like that team, but they look pretty. They had moments. This season where you've seen something kind of formulating there. Yeah, not too much. I don't think Washington, they have to figure out that coaching thing. They got to figure out the receiver thing. The quarterback thing. They have some good young receivers there. To me, that's still I think they're still building. I don't know if that'd be a good spot for him. Like I said earlier in the show, I want him to go somewhere where he has like a plug and play type of situation. Like I said, Indy is the best place for that. I don't know, man. That's a tough one. I don't know about the Commandos right now.
All right, what about the NFC? You're defending San Francisco 49ers, 13-4.
Yeah,
We don't even know who's going to be a quarterback there. Is it going to be Brock
doesn't
Purdy? Is it
matter.
going to be Trey
Doesn't
Lance?
matter.
We'll see. Seattle 9-8, the Rams 5-12, and the Cardinals 14-13. Can the Cardinals or the Rams? Let's put the Rams in this conversation too. Can either one of them pass the 49ers?
I think the Rams have the best shot out of all those teams because I think their season kind of got derailed with a lot of injuries. So once we got those injuries put back together and add a couple pieces here and there, like they were just in the Super Bowl. So it's like I don't see why they wouldn't be able. It depends on what Darnold's going to do as well. You're hearing him talk about retirement and stuff too. So I don't know. That'll be a something to keep your eye on this offseason.
NFC North, we have the 13-4 Vikings, the 9-8 Lions, the 8-9 Packers, and the 3-14 Chicago Bears. Can the Bears win this division? Another year with Justin Fields. Let's say they get a good wide receiver to help them out.
I think it's a little bit more than just a receiver, but I do see something forming there. It seemed like they're on a right track finally. They were kind of floundering for a minute, but once you get that quarterback, everything kind of falls into place. Like if they can get a couple of good receivers in there, that O-line for sure, they need to do something there. And Chicago always finds a way to have a pretty good defense. What's your thoughts on that one? I don't know about that. That's a tough one.
I don't see the Chicago Bears going worst to first there. I could see the Detroit Lions dethroning the Minnesota Vikings. I think that's probably the best bet there. I think the Packers are going to be right around 500 again. I don't think Aaron Rodgers is going to be there. I think it's going to be a Jordan Love-led team.
Right.
It's going to be a rebuild type year for them. So I think it's going to be the Lions and the Vikings battling it out there. So I don't think the Bears are going to quite
Love
be
didn't
there.
look good to me when Love was in there, though. Love didn't.
No, he had good opportunities.
Yeah.
He looked okay. He looked like a serviceable quarterback.
Yeah.
I think the Bears could win this division in 2 to 3 years, though.
Yeah, I'm with you.
But you're going to be paying Justin Fields in 2 to 3 years. So that's going to change things. Now, how about the NFC South? Our last little division here we're going to talk about real quick. The Buccaneers 8-9. The Carolina Panthers 7-10. The New Orleans Saints 7-10. The Atlanta Falcons 7-10.
Whew, that division is nasty.
That
is a nasty division. And
that's
not
like end of the night.
nasty.
The bar light. That's end of the night. The bar lights turn on.
Facts. I don't see anyone. I don't. Yeah, because even with Brady being gone now, there's an opportunity to go from like worst to first, is because the division is so like out of sorts. But
I mean, listen to this. Your quarterbacks right now: Kyle Trask,
right,
Matt Carroll,
right.
I think Jameis Winston might be the quarterback in New Orleans right now under contract, and Desmond Ridder. Those are your quarterbacks under contract for those teams. Sam Darnold's a free agent right now. I mean, Andy Dalton, I think, is a free agent right now. Tom Brady retired. Marcus Mariota got replaced. So it's Desmond Ridder, the second-year player, going into next season. Like,
I actually like Ridder too, but another spot, my second spot I want to see Carr in is in Tampa Bay. I think that's a veteran team. They have good receivers, good running backs, good defense. Like that team is ready to kind of go. They just really need a quarterback. So if they can get a Carr in there, or who's like the second quarterback, who's like the top free agent quarterback right now?
I've been kind of touting Lamar Jackson to the Atlanta Falcons.
I like that. I heard that before.
And that could be a difference maker. If you're looking at a team that was one game out of first place and they add themselves a Lamar Jackson to this offense, I think the Falcons can make some noise. So I think the Falcons could be one of those other teams that goes from worst to first, depending on how the rest of the offseason goes. So, right. I mean, anyone in that NFC South could win. We kind of came to that agreement. Nothing really in the NFC that really catches our eye. But if we look at the AFC, you're giving the Jets a legitimate shot to dethroning the Bills, and you're giving the Browns a legitimate shot of dethroning the Bengals potentially here as teams that could go from worst to first. But luckily for us, the ViperCast, hey, we're always number one. It doesn't matter. We can't be Often imitated, never duplicated here on the ViperCast, presented by the Fantasy Points Media Group. And with that all being said, make sure you are tuning in to the ViperCast right here on the Vipers Network. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and tell your friends, because this is the best kept secret in all of fantasy football, coming at you every week. We do not take a week off during the offseason. In fact, over 270 videos were created this last season here on the Vipers Network. And get ready, we're going to be coming at you with much the same here in 2023. Now, I can't say anything more than that. For Major Caldwell, I'm Matt Donnelly. For Tara Roberts, once again, this has been the ViperCast.